Someday we'll have the gumption to actually start a show, not only on time and with all guests, but maybe we could sing an a cappella piece beforehand. Welcome back to Business Technology. We've got Farah here today, along with myself, Matt Barron. Welcome.
All right, so we be bouncing.
Yeah.
Bouncing.
Yeah. Dude, it's tough sometimes to get energized. You know what I'm talking about. I spent the last week we drove down to South Carolina for our spring break, which a lot of people said, what if it goes poorly? What if the kids freak out? What if your car breaks down? And my new fear now is that it went really well. And we're going to have to do it again and again.
And again and again. See, that's exactly it. I mean, some of my best memories growing up were the fact that every summer or spring you would go for this road trip, and we would go from Alberta to BC and through, and it's like a nice 16, 17-hour drive. And we didn't have the cool little technology. I mean, you just had to do other things to keep yourself entertained. So kudos to my parents. But yeah, the dreaded trip. And then my dad kind of said, Cam, I'm a little over this. We've done this 2 years in a row.
I was surprised. So I always look at the data. Like that's kind of how I do it is how much did it actually cost? How much were airline tickets going to be?
Right.
How much time did we actually lose doing it? And my wife and I, we turned out to be these incredible superhero driver freaks that could actually drive continuously. Continuous delivery, continuous driving. And so now we are definitely going to be going again. It only ended up costing about $1,100 to go to South Carolina for a week.
There you go. That's pretty awesome.
And that includes like the Airbnb and it includes everything. So this is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is.
And if you haven't made your way around your country, you're doing yourself a disservice because there's so much to see.
I'm sure it must have been a really interesting drive. I mean, even through some of the village, like not the villages, but like, the farms and the range roads and things like that. Like, I'm sure you get to see some pretty sights as well and different types of people living. And, it's amazing how much diversity there is just within our own country.
Diversity of people, diversity of climates. The plants that we see, we get down to South Carolina and like in the North Carolina region, Tennessee, even a little bit, there's these trees that are blossoming purple that I've never even seen, but they're everywhere, all along the freeways. It's just so cool to see new things.
I know. So it was a good experience.
It's hard to re-energize after something like that, but we're going to keep going, always upwards.
I like it.
So last week we talked about, I think it's my favorite new topic. I think it's always been a favorite topic of mine and certainly of ours on the podcast. But I don't think I ever phrased it correctly or something, but it's the problem that we're all struggling with, which is what makes great technology.
Right.
And we pontificated about it last week and quickly came to the determination that it is way bigger than we ever thought. And there's so many different aspects and facets to software or business technology or whatever you want to say that you really can't compare them all. And you can't really say, if you look at your applications, make sure it's got these 16 things and then it'll be good. And I think that is the conundrum of buyers everywhere.
Absolutely. And I think it's a conundrum that's shared by this article that Mark just shared within our group a little while ago. And then we'll put it in our podcast notes as well for all of you guys to read through. And it actually, until I read that article, it didn't strike me that it was absolutely true. When you compare a company like Netflix to Google or to Facebook, it's very easy for us to say, hey, serve one master instead of two, which is what Todd Yellen, the VP for product development, said was their mantra, which was to serve one master, which is the customer. And for some companies, I think that's easier to do. But when you are faced with a Facebook situation where you're not a subscriber model, it's people coming to you, and you actually do have two masters. You have your advertisers and you have your actual users or customers of the platform. And that really becomes challenging to create something around a personal experience that satisfies both, because they are competing objectives in some way, shapes, or form.
Yes, they have similar objectives. They have shared objectives, which is a very small set, and then they've got broader objectives where they are clearly in not cahoots, the opposite of cahoots. They are in non-cahoots together. The advertisers want to steal your non-viewing, your non-enjoyment experience time, and you as a viewer want all of the time to yourself.
Right.
For free, if possible.
So that article got me thinking. So, I mean, I think it's phenomenal and it's exciting because Netflix has this notion of creating this personal experience. When I think of something like YouTube Red, that's exactly what they did. They helped me go to a subscription model because I cannot stand watching all these ads, and have given me something to subscribe to, and now can create that personal experience. So now they've got a platform where they are serving one master, and they still have their other platform which serves both their advertisers and their users.
And I think we can equate this kind of to the DevOps experience where it used to be just throw stuff over the wall. There was never a connection back to development. We would develop stuff, ship it, have to support it, and it always went that one way, always. And Netflix, if you watch the video, we put it in show notes. If you go to hackbiztech.com or hackingbusinesstechnology.com, click on the show notes tab. There's a short video of the Netflix, he's VP of operations. I don't remember exactly his title. But basically, he talks about that cycle, how they're using big data, which he puts pretty well and says, it's a buzzword. But they're using that to customize the experience. So you see this in other things that are really well done, or taking over the market, or just a lot of people changing the way that they look at stuff, the way they look at product management, the way they look at software management, and the companies that can focus on that loop are really, they become selfless. It's not about just making money. It's not about the revenue. It's not about what that leader thought. It's not what the CEO thinks we should do. It's what the customer thinks we should do.
Absolutely.
And that experience is difficult to measure, or was difficult to measure at one point. And the companies that are getting it right are really focusing on it. They are hyper focused on the customer. Forrester coined this term, customer obsessed. And I love that term.
I do. I totally love that too.
Who doesn't want to be obsessed about something? Obsession, it's a fine balance. It really is. But in the terms of capitalism and of revenue, being customer obsessed, man, it just rings true to so many things we've been doing for so many years. I mean, it basically defines marketing.
Everything. Marketing, my quality in terms of my product development, how I support, if I'm customer obsessed, how I deliver that support. I mean,
the code you write.
Right. And that's, I think, what I really loved about what Todd said in that video blog around, it's, our mission is simple. It's to make that personal experience, or that experience, better. Plain and simple.
And the beauty of it, I think, if we look back to the way that we used to receive TV, video, literal television through your cable, or through the airwave technology, there was no way to loop. You couldn't loop it. We had this idea of Nielsen ratings and some other BS stuff that kind of said whether shows were popular or not. But that the internet delivery really enabled us to be customer obsessed. And you see this, of course, in business technology all the time. In marketing space and sales space, you see Salesforce all the time. There's millions of solutions and services that will allow you to creep on your customers as much as you want. But it's really about finding a balance, and then understanding, sifting through the big garbage,
Right. And finding what he called those gems, right? The gems in the garbage.
Yes.
And hyper focusing that those gems should be directly correlated to making that personal experience elevated or better, right?
Precisely. And I think that is something that gets down to the science level. How do you specifically do that? What are you specifically looking for? So in the case of Netflix, it's going to be, show me all the searches where people didn't actually watch a show that they searched for. So then, that sort of feedback goes out to Netflix content buyers. Hey, can we get this show? Is it inexpensive? What's the return on investment? How many people are searching for it? And giving them a dashboard that says, look at all these, 4 million people searched for the Beatles, let's say, on Spotify. People, 4 million times they've searched for the Beatles, and 4 million times they end up listening to some Beatles cover band who's put their music on Spotify. And so Spotify looks at that and says, okay, well, of these search rankings, the Beatles is way up there. Can we actually get their album? And that ends up becoming a project. How do we get their albums? What sort of legal?
By the way, that is perfect analogy into how you could do portfolio management, how you could enhance your knowledge management process inside of your company, right? And this is going back to assessing why you're measuring what you're measuring. Really, do I absolutely care about my knowledge usage, or do I care about how many searches returned no knowledge results to an article that didn't give me anything back, right? Do I care about, in terms of my service catalog, people searching on service requests and things that they can get done, or do I care about what they searched and didn't find a match for to feed what requests I may create in the future? I mean, it's about really thinking through and stepping outside of the box in terms of what data we're using and why, right? We just collect the same metrics and the same pile of data over and over. And I feel like it's like, if I have to build another report, if I'm talking about service management, around the number of knowledge articles that have been used, I'm over it, right?
Hooper hit it perfectly this morning on his talk. I don't know where he's at. He must be. He said he's in Sweden.
Sweden.
So I think it's ITSMF, but it might be SITS. I don't know what event he's at, but he's at some event in Europe. And someone tweeted one of his things from his presentation this morning. He asked specifically, who is using Google Analytics in their service management platform? And only 3 hands went up.
There you have it.
And of course, maybe they're using some other fancy analytics platform, but the reality is that they're probably not actually looking at that. And that content, that data is so valuable. We use it on our internal wiki that our customers use around our products. So we can literally see that this person from this company, their name and their company name, and what they're searching for. What problems are they having? And it's a great way, actually, to do proactive incident response, too. Like, look, this person's having this same problem month after month. Let's reach out to them. And we're finding the problems for them.
There you have it.
We just send them an email. Hey, I saw that you were searching for this. You didn't come up with a solution. Here's the solution. We've posted it here for now on.
I saw that you had these 20 crash reports that were sent in. And right? Like, that's another one that happens on Firefox or on Apple. So many things. I'm like, what do they do with this crash report? Here, I'll send it. I never see the results of that. How cool would it be if someone was to reach out and say, hey, you've submitted 10 crash reports on this application that you're using, and we've value, right?
Yes.
Speaking to the experience of the individual.
Because if it's a loop, it's gotta be a loop. I mean, really, ideally, if you're releasing a new UI, the customer is aware of it. Whether it's just because, hey, I'm delighted, bing, or you announce it. You send them an email and you say, look, the UI has changed. Here's why we changed it. Here's where you can find the things that I know you already use because I'm watching you, because I'm customer obsessed. If nothing else, I'm glad that I can make you laugh, Ron.
Oh, it's awesome.
And then, we've been kind of gesticulating about Amazon recently and how the experience can be bittersweet, right? It's sort of like, I love that term uncanny valley, because it really captures what I think we're headed towards in this customer obsession, which is how do you balance not only the snowflakes of the world, how each person is completely unique, while also maintaining the right distance between people and companies, right? So they don't get that creepiness feeling, the creep factor. Like, hey, Matt, I saw you bought underwear on Amazon. I'll bet you want this too. Like, that's totally creepy, you know? And then also, you know, you look at some of the experiences that are inherent in what you do and how people misuse it. And your business partners become a big part of that. So the tweet I posted on Twitter, believe it or not, that's where I tweet, was, every time I buy something on Amazon, it seems like, specifically recently, I can't quite get it, but I get an email from these suppliers and they're like, hey, we saw you bought this.
How was your experience?
How was your experience? And then if you don't respond, you get another one 3 days later.
It's like death by notifications.
Yes, it seems like every time I buy something, I get 3 additional emails that I don't want. And it's like, how do I provide that feedback to Amazon? Like, they don't have feelers into my inbox. They probably don't have feelers into their distributors' outboxes.
Right.
How did they get inside of that?
Right. Now, I could see why they want to do that, right? Which is, because now with Amazon, I'm not the only bookseller that's putting my stuff out there. I'm competing against hundreds of thousands of other vendors, and so I want to be able to improve. So I get it, but then offer me an incentive. Hey, want to earn $5 back on your next purchase, or work with me that I am enticed to give you that feedback, because otherwise it's just annoying 3 emails that are crowding my inbox, which, by the way, I actually technically don't care because I really don't check it, but that's a whole other conversation around email, right? But again, they're collecting this data. Is it meaningful? Is it going to be, are they capturing a statistically significant sampling? If not, why are you doing it, right? And
yeah, just don't let people get around. Don't let people tarnish your well-honed customer experience.
Exactly. Because right now, I mean, there's already the ability for me to rate my product, right? The 3-star, 5-star system, or what have you. I can leave a product review. I can leave a comment. And now on top of that, you're adding a specific survey that you're emailing me. I mean, I'm kind of, no, sorry.
I think best case scenario, Amazon changes the feedback system for customers and allows vendors to interact with them in that space.
Absolutely.
So, customer gives it a bad review and 0 stars, which I wish 0 stars was a real thing.
Yeah.
Gives it a bad review and 1 star, let's say. The distributor could actually like respond and say, hey, look, I'm sorry you had a bad experience. We'll take that back, or we're giving you a refund. Keep the product.
Right, right, exactly. And then they'll see that, and it's in that live, if you will, like a little live feed. Other people are reading it. Now it's integrated. It's real time. It's a part of the experience I've already been having, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing people respond to what I'm writing to. Now I'm going to be compelled to do that more often. But you're taking it out of the system by me providing you feedback in a separate mechanism, in a separate email. I have no incentive to do so.
Yep. The feedback system becomes the inbox for the distributors and the outbox of the customer, empowering your customer, empowering your distributors, and best of all, no one gets bugged unnecessarily.
Exactly.
And so I think what we're saying is that good business technology, being technology that delivers revenue or value, good or great business technology focuses on a good experience.
Absolutely. And leverages or mines their data so that they can make that experience better, right?
Precisely.
I think it's breaking out of the traditional metrics to say, how can I understand behaviors or results of people who are doing things to improve their experience?
And a lot of this has been done in the past. Business relationship managers and business analysts will all tell you that this is something that they do. They go out and talk to the business users of an ERP system and they say, how can we make it better and how can we make it worse? But sometimes that's not enough.
Or effective.
Or effective.
If I can ingrain it in the experience I already have without having to harass them separately, then I feel like we've done ourselves a service, right?
Or if you're going to harass them separately, make sure that the world is their oyster. Anything is possible, right? You need to understand that you're working within the regulations of your industry and the needs of your ability to make money. And then beyond that, make it the best you can make it. Truly listening to people, not just looking at data, but listening to people if you're a person. And then, yeah, if you're able to look at big data like that and you feel equipped, like you're able to actually listen to the way that people are interacting with your ERP system to determine how to make it better, good for you.
Absolutely.
But if you're not going to talk to people and you're not equipped to measure it already, hire someone else to do it, because it doesn't cost a lot either. You can hire a good user experience designer. You can find a third party that will actually focus on the experience for you.
Right, especially now in your increasingly competitive environment, right? Where I can have, now more than ever, if I go and Google an app or go to my app store for a health tracking app, I've got tens and thousands of more choices than I did 5 or 10 years ago. So now you want to stand out, that experience has to count, because that's what's going to draw me to you and your product.
So you heard it here first. Tweet us at Hacking Business Technology, at HackBizTech on Twitter. You can find us on hackingbusinesstechnology.com. Tell us what else you think makes technology great. Let us know what you think differentiates your product from another. How do you pay attention to user experience? Share your stories, and we'll catch you next week with more great tech.
Same time, same place. Have a good one.
See ya.